Hello everyone, my name is Masterstarman, and I've alluded to this a few times now, but welcome to my new Let's Play, which, I mean, we've kind of talked about this one already before, and you can probably tell by the title what this is here. Welcome to an anniversary that happened 13 years ago, and that makes me feel really ancient here. This is the game that came out for Kirby's 20th anniversary, Kirby's Dream Collection. It says special edition, but basically every version of this is a special edition of some kind. This was a collection of a bunch of stuff, really. Kirby's first few games are what's mainly included in this, as well as some new extra stuff that we'll be dealing with later, but for the bulk of this, we're going to be going through all of Kirby's old adventures here. We have Kirby's Dream Land, Kirby's Adventure, Kirby's Dream Land 2, Kirby Super Star, Kirby's Dream Land 3, and Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Some of these are some of my favorite games, but there's a lot of in here that I'm not as familiar with, if you could believe it. And we're going to be starting with one that I have some experience with, but some that I really don't, in a way. Let's just go ahead and get started with Kirby's very first ever adventure here. This is Kirby's Dream Land. Welcome to Kirby's Dream Land. So, let's just kind of go ahead and get things rolling here. Kirby's Dream Land, at its core, doesn't really have much going for it here. We can just move, jump, we can inhale stuff, and we can also float by holding up on the D-pad, and that's pretty much it. This is one of, like, the most basic games you could probably ever play, but it was very effective. This was, for the longest time, I think maybe this was recently surpassed by Kirby in the Forgotten Land, but I want to say this was the best-selling Kirby game up until that point, I believe, so it definitely was a successful game. We also just have a bit of a mini-boss here. We got Poppy Bros Senior, and he's pretty easy. Just inhale the bombs that he throws at us here, and otherwise, though, it's kind of about what you would expect here. Dreamland is, I think, maybe an interesting game in the sense that, like, just for what it started and where the series would kind of go, but yeah, I probably shouldn't be dwelling on, like, what is and what it isn't, because it's probably a little unfair to say, but this is pretty much the entire game in a nutshell. I think there's, I want to say there's, like, well, what I was about to say doesn't really matter. You can grab this M tomato here, and is there an extra life over here as well, or am I thinking, no? I must be thinking of Kirby, of a different Kirby game that has something very similar to this. Maybe over here? No? Really, game, you're really slacking on the secrets here. And through here we have our first boss of the game, and he's this tree that we've seen if you've played any other Kirby game. This is Wispy Woods here. Just gotta eat the apples he drops and throw them back at him, basically. Unlike later Wispy fights, though, you may have noticed he does kind of have a hitbox on his, like, face there, so you don't really want to take much damage from that. Also, fun fact that Sakurai kind of showed in his YouTube channel, but basically his face is just kind of, like, drawn on. The actual tree is, the tree itself is just in the background. Kind of just a small little, neat little detail for that. And time for a level that I don't really remember all too well, which is Castle Lololo. We can grab this microphone here, one of the few power-ups in the game here. I don't actually remember this level all too well. We can also grab this bomb here that destroys a lot of stuff in our path. Oh, this is... Okay, this monster in a box here, I actually recognize this. I think this is a monster called Chucky. Which, I know, funny, we can make the Child's Play jokes here now, but... Yeah, now, Chucky, I think, is... I recognize it because it is actually a monster in the anime series at one point. Also, mummies as well, which were also a monster in that. It's been a long time since I played this level in particular. I'm kind of surprised how many of these enemies I actually remember in a way. And here we just kind of got a mid-boss here. This mid-boss is interesting because, this character, this is Lololo. Lololo actually kind of originates from a different game that was also made by the same developers. I don't think it was directed by Sakurai in any way, but it was, Adventures of Lolo on the NES. And I think there's like 3 of those, I think. I don't actually know which way I'm going here. Yeah, there's like 3 Adventures of Lolo games. I think one of them might have been Japan only. I could be mistaken about that, but... I think at least the first one of those I know is on the Switch Online service. So I want to say Adventures of Lolo 2 is also on there. And that's it for this level here. Very short level. I don't know if I was, like, intentionally, like, just picking the right path, or if there's just a lot of other branching pathways in there. But yeah, we gotta fight Lololo and Lololo together, which is definitely a bit tougher than the first boss, but not by much, really. It's funny I say that, and I actually took damage to Wispy, and yeah. I don't really have too much other interesting trivia to say about this. Like, the Lolo games, they're more like puzzle games, but they're interesting, you know. It's kind of a weird thing to have a crossover with as early as this game with that, but it's neat, though. It's neat. And I will say with, Adventures of Lolo, or at least the character of Lolo and Lololo, I know at least in regards of, like, the Kirby Right Back At Ya anime series, for some reason they had a name change in the English dub of it. I'm not really sure why, but to Fololo and Falala. I don't really mind, really. It's just kind of one of those things that happened. Float Islands is pretty easy, though, otherwise. Kind of starts off with some more enemies here and there, but this one's actually quite a lot larger than I remember it as well. They bring elements of this game back in a future Kirby game that we'll be playing a bit later in the series, anyway. This is one of those... Like, for some reason, I'll talk more about it when we get to it, but they don't include Castle Lolo in that version of it, and, like, a lot of the levels are also really, really condensed and shorter. Like, this room here in that version, I think, is just an extra life. Which it still is, but, like, when I say an extra life, I mean literally just an extra life and nothing else in that room. Starting to get a lot more spikes here, but thankfully we can float around. I guess I can talk about this here. I remember, I was thinking, I always get a weird reaction from people when I tell this story, but, the one time I, like, beat this game as a kid, I just borrowed it from a friend of mine in school who had it, and I remember, like, I always have this memory of playing this game outside of a police station, and that always elicits a weird response from people, but it's because, I had, a relative in my family who worked as, like, a volunteer police officer at the time. So, like, that's why. We just had that, like, fireball power up there that just kind of lets us breathe fire a little bit for a few seconds. But yeah, I always tell that story and people are like, what the hell did you do that you were playing this outside of a police station? But no, it's just because I had a relative who was a volunteer police officer at the time. I don't know if that's actually when I finished it though. I want to say I beat this, like, at my house. Because this is a fairly short game, all things considered. And now we ride a whale blowhole up to the clouds. And we are basically at the boss. Whenever you see this, like, beat thing here, this turns the game into, like, a shoot-'em-up. This is Kabula. It is literally just a blimp here. I'm taking a lot of damage here. I don't think Kabula's that difficult, but it is definitely a different, like, boss-style change that you may not be used to. For sometimes like these, I usually would just say focus on dodging and less on actually attacking there. It's not that hard of a boss fight, but yeah, just kind of focus on the dodging more than anything, and you should be fine there. I do remember that fight used to give me a little bit of trouble when I was a kid, but it's not that bad. And now we're in Bubbly Clouds. This level's, well, definitely a little bit harder than some of the last ones, but again, I don't think it's that bad. Dreamland 1's a really, like, it's a game that's meant for beginners, and I think I should probably watch Sakurai's video on this to refresh my mind on it, because, this game was directed by, and created by, Masahiro Sakurai, who's probably nowadays best known as the Smash Brothers guy, but he technically, I think this was his first directorial in a game, at least, that I can think of anyway. Yeah, he, basically, I think designed this game just to be a bit more beginner-friendly, and in a way, it definitely worked, because, again, this game sold a lot for its time, and kind of birthed one of Nintendo's longest-running franchises. It's also interesting seeing just how many of these enemies would later become a lot more significant in later games, but Dreamland 1, kind of a bit basic. Can be neat to play this though and see a lot of these, like, changes to everything here. Like, kind of where it started here. I was in a weird discussion about that the other day with a friend who was like, wouldn't you want to see... Oh, I'll explain that in a minute here, because we have a mid-boss here. This is Krakow Jr. Just this eyeball thing here. Spit out a Waddle Doo. Kinda just want to dodge it. I don't think it can actually hurt you in the corner like that. So... I was in a weird discussion with a friend the other day who was like, wouldn't you want to see where the beginning of certain things happens? And I feel in some cases that's neat, and in some cases you don't always need to do that. Like, I can see how it might be interesting to see where this game kind of got its roots, though. I'd say it's worth the experience, but definitely not, like, my immediate go-to as far as an old Kirby game would go, but it's definitely still a game that, you know, I think is worth experiencing at least once or twice in your lifetime. Maybe more. I've known people who've, really loved this game growing up and whatnot. I think I had an older cousin who said she was really into this game when it was new, and I can definitely believe that. Anyways, just kind of keep breaking this bridge here. And head on through. This room, I think there's a secret here, unless I'm thinking of a later Kirby game. It's also weird to tell what's like a backdrop and what isn't. So this started a tradition in basically every Kirby game from here on out, or at least just about every Kirby game. The moon in the top here is always a secret. And in this case, I don't know what this one is here. Maybe just a health and a 1-up. Okay, 2 tomatoes, which is not helpful in any way, because we're all just one of them will fully heal you. But I guess I can drop down there. That probably explains it. Yeah, later Kirby games like to hide a lot of secrets in the moons, but this takes you to the boss. This is Kracko, the giant thunderstorm monster. Much like Wispy would become kind of a mainstay of Kirby over the years. I don't think Kracko's that deadly in this game. I don't remember Kracko's attacks in this one. They bring this boss back a lot throughout the series. Oh, nope, you can definitely do your dash attack there. So I actually really like this boss theme. I'm surprised they don't ever really bring it back as far as I know. It's repetitive, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, there's something about it I find kind of charming in of itself. But yeah, Kracko was pretty easy also. And stage 5 is Mount DeDeDe. Yes, we are already at the end of the game here. This was a very short ride, wasn't it? But Mount DeDeDe's kind of a weird level in this game because, as you see, we have these 4 doors here, and each one of these is kind of like a mini redux of a previous realm. This part always like seemed weird to me in a way because it's like, it's the one part I always kind of forget about this game. Like, we have these Gordos blocking these doors here, and I forget if we just need to, yeah, I think we just need to touch like the Kirby icon and that'll get rid of the like enemy basically that's blocking the doorway. And we kind of just have a boss rematch here. Thankfully, this didn't really become a big trend in Kirby games. If there ever was times where they did the whole boss rematch thing, well, not in the main story, but like, if there ever was times where they did the whole boss rematch thing, it was usually stuff I criticized, but I don't mind it so much here just because the rest of this game is so short otherwise. Of course, that guy would hit me there. Anyways, just touch that Kirby there and get ready for a boss. Okay, got rid of Lololo. I can only just barely tell which one's which because Lololo has a like a ribbon on her head there. But still pretty easy. All these bosses are pretty much about the same as what we just did like 15 minutes ago. I do like the weird dancing Kirby that you have to find, but it is definitely just like a very random thing you have to do in this game. Anyways, we got Kabula again. not much to say that I didn't say the first time here. He's basically just dodges attacks and spray and pray, basically. Sometimes do that dash attack there, but I think all these gargle there. I think all these bosses they usually bring back in some fashion. Like Wispy Woods is in virtually every Kirby game, I think, and no Secret in the Moon here. Interesting. Krakow gets brought back a lot too. Not quite as much in the 3D era, but like Krakow's being brought back quite a few times in other Kirby games, but a few times in the 3D era, like in Star Allies and Triple Deluxe, but not as much as, definitely not as much as Wispy. But yeah, I didn't think that was gonna hit me, but okay. That's the first time we died this whole time, and we have to go through this whole room again, but it's all good. It's not like this room was very difficult to begin with. Let's give this another shot here. I think what other games bring back. I know Kabula's brought back a few times, and Lololo and Lololo, I think maybe the odd cameo here and there, but they are like recurring characters in the anime series, so I'd say that technically would count in a way. Anyways, Krakow defeated. The only logical step we have left is right here. Let's face King DeDeDe himself. We are already at the end. This is basically about as basic a DeDeDe fight as it gets here. He'll try and attack you. You just got to take whatever stars he leaves behind here and do your best to dodge him, and that's pretty much it. He has a lot of health, but he's not that bad otherwise. I didn't mean to... There was a little bit of, like, momentum lag there, but... Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to stand so close to him there. Come on, do your, like, hammer attack or your jump attack or something. There we go. That's what I want to see. And immediately just frame one, like, attack me after the fact there. That's good to see there. I didn't think he was gonna land, like, directly on me there, and I figured I would have had the time to inhale there. Let's try that again. I don't think DeDeDe's that hard, but, like, I mean, I beat him when I was, like, 8 years old, so... A lot of his attacks are telegraphed pretty well there. He just has a lot of HP, so you kind of have to get used to that, but he's not that bad otherwise. Definitely would set a precedent for many, many better DeDeDe battles over the years, but... Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be standing so close to him, but... Alright, only 3 more hits left on him there. Sorry, I'm not saying too much here, but not really a lot to say about this boss fight here. Because we just literally perfected him there. That's not really a word, but you know what I mean. Yeah, that was it for Kirby's Dream Land. Not much to this game otherwise. I think the story of this game is something about DeDeDe stealing food, and we go to his castle, and we just turn ourselves into a big balloon and get our food back. That's pretty much all she wrote about this game. But yeah, Dreamland 1, not really my go-to Kirby game in a way, considering we've played this entire game in less than a half hour. Masa Sakurai, okay, they didn't put his whole name down there, but I guess that's fine. Sunday Rain. That's, these are definitely some pseudonyms, alright. Special thanks, Bubby. I don't know why, I find that really funny. Cypher's a little more of a normal name there, but yeah, no, this game is it's still definitely worth checking out, I would say. It's definitely a game that would leave a like important legacy on gaming and Forever Birth, a franchise I really love. Not really the most intuitive game in the world, but it is definitely a start, alright. Definitely a start. And would lay the foundation for a lot of Stone Cold classics in of itself. This game would be one of them in some respects, but yay, we get the bye-bye message. And here's the interesting thing that I was lying about. Press up A and select on the title screen to start a new adventure. Good luck. Yeah, there is a, second thing of this here. All I remember when I first played this game was that I got to this screen, it froze, and I thought you basically had to press up A select on this screen. I was like, why isn't this doing anything? It's not doing anything. This game sucks, and kind of just gave it back to my friend at the time. Yeah, it's something we can do here. Now, I will say that if you're playing on the Kirby's Dream Collection here, if you wanted to reset the game here, you actually need to kind of do a input in of itself here. If you go to the home menu and hit reset here, it actually brings you to the main game screen there. And that's kind of annoying. So what you actually got to do is hit A, B, and start and select to do that. So, next time, we will be going through Extra Mode. I expect Extra Mode to take a bit longer because it's a way harder version of the main game, but it wouldn't be complete if we didn't do that. So, join us back next time for Extra Mode. Thanks everyone for watching. I've been Masterstarman. Have yourselves a great day. If you like this video, please be sure to leave a thumbs up and a comment and everything like that. I'll see you guys for the harder thing. Have yourselves a great day and peace out.